Good morning, Partha.
Good morning, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Good for happy Friday, I would say.
July just flew. Like all of a sudden it was August, and this week too. I'm like, oh my god, it's Friday. Like what happened? It's
I know.
crazy.
Yesterday was really bad because yesterday we had a meeting starting at 6 a.m.
Oh,
So with TPC. But today is better, I would say. I still have, I don't know how about you, but of course you were there for a few days only. But I still have kind of effect of jet lag, I would say. I have trouble sleeping in the night.
yeah. Well,
I'm trying to sleep, and eventually when I sleep, then I have to sleep longer in the daytime, right?
well, yeah, and that doesn't help getting back on the cycle, right? From what I
No,
understand, it can take a couple of weeks to actually really get back on the right schedule.
probably. Previously, it used to be 1 week or so, but this time it seems like actually beginning few days were okay, but now it seems every day I have I don't know, I have a problem in sleeping,
Sorry. I
and
finally
I
felt like I just caught up in sleep like yesterday. That like I wasn't exhausted all the time.
yeah, it's just starting from the afternoon feels a little bit uh, how can I say, this little is not right. It's hard to be busy with something, otherwise I have less. But anyway, hopefully it will go out a few days. Do you have anything? I have quite a few questions.
No,
I
I have
not questions.
nothing in particular. You saw the email that I sent Estelle today about the CTIS, so we're going to give Reg CMC this, like everyone's going to have the same status. But I just want to make sure, Ronak was kind to just be able to walk your team through the system just so they can see it and understand it and how they'll be using it. He has the most experience of all of us using it, so I think he's a really good internal resource for that.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, that's not a problem. I'll let everybody know
Yeah,
that so everybody can do that one.
but that's it.
First of all, that's it. Okay, I have got some quick things and then some things maybe for discussion.
Okay.
I remember we talked last time about ADC, that feasibility trip or technical
Oh,
trip that
yes.
they're doing. So I
Yes.
did talk to Sushil, and actually I met Sushil in the cafeteria, and we talked about that. He was okay with that, but he was trying to persuade me not to go. He's telling, oh, this is not a big thing. You can go again. We'll have a more discussion. This is this, all this he was saying. I I still personally think this is the right time to go because they have not. I mean, they have kind of decided, but they have not made any formal agreements. So I think it's good to evaluate their regulatory approach, their capability, what people they have, what is their track record, have they, did anything in terms of submission with any other company, all these things. And not only that, because this is the time a lot of people are going, they'll be in a mode to really, if I go separately, first of all, we don't know when we'll be able to go. And even if we go separately, it will not have the same impact. Okay?
So let me ask this, right? Because what I'm trying to figure out is what makes the most sense. And honestly, I'm kind of thinking it might make sense for you to wait, which is different than what you're thinking. So hear me out as I sort of think through this out loud. The purpose of I'm going to call it one trip, although it's really three. But the purpose of going there now is to it's even more significant in qualification, right? It's for essentially for quality to go in and make sure that they have like all their systems in place and that they have people who are qualified to be doing the stuff that they're going to be doing and all of that. And they usually have like a whole checklist about this. So I guess my question is, do you feel that quality would not be able to appropriately qualify, validate, whatever, make the assessments about the CMC team or however whoever's going to be doing the writing, that sort of thing? Do you feel like they are unable to do that with their expertise?
Well, not only unable to do that, I do not think quality will look at those things. I do not think so, because this is we're talking about uh, evaluating their how regulatory wise how they will support us and what is their capability and capacity. Capacity means how many people they are investing in that. Those kind of things, I do not think quality will look at. Quality will look at more systems. And then the other thing is, this is not just a quality visit. Actually, it started as, I mean, it's a technical visit. So there will be technical people there. I mean, people means one person actually that Sushil hired, not hired as a contractor. And this is more of a, before just, I mean, they are already kind of leaning towards this group or their companies. And basically, this is a visit before finally selecting them. The contract is not signed,
correct,
right?
Yep.
And so, for example, if regulatory wise we think based on the evaluation that they can do certain things, but they cannot do certain things. So we have to kind of account for the cost for that. If CMC says no, doesn't matter what regulatory wise they can do, we still will go with them, right? Mm-hmm. In that case, we have to account for that cost in our estimate. So those kind of things, and then I have a couple of other kind of my own reason. One reason is upfront if we go, then we have a better perspective on where the project is, what is going on, because otherwise we do not have that much information. And CNC usually does not share the information. So upfront we'll have that thing. I think the second thing, I'm not sure how well it will work, but at least I want to have a little bit, Shusi's group has been a little bit distant. They just want to keep us away from them. So it's a little bit more have that, how can I say, doing this together, have that kind of little bit relationship in that process. I mean, there are many other ways to do that, but I think this is one of the ways to do it. But these are minor things. These are side things. These are just for me. But mainly the evaluation at this point will help us, and also it will help me gauge what is there, what are they doing, what will be coming. And that also helps a little bit in terms of planning for our. We may need somebody for the ADC project in future, not immediately, but in future. But the thing is, what I was thinking, I was telling you, going in future, when, how? I mean, you cannot just say for regulatory we want to do something, we want to visit it, and they will not pay as much emphasis, or how can I say? And I don't know when that, how that, what will be the context of that. This is a good occasion to do that upfront, and these things should be regulatory evaluation. I mean, that CMC evaluation should be done in the upfront when they are doing, because they are going all of them. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I mean, that's what I feel. I mean, I just want to let you know my.
Yeah.
And I mean, as I said, Sushil is as such is okay, but he's just a little bit saying, well, do you really need to go, this and that. He's just saying.
Yeah, and again, I'm not opposed, but I also am, I'm really thinking that, frankly, it is actually Quality's job to be able to make the assessment. Frankly, they should be able to make the Reg CMC assessment. That actually, yeah, they should, about whether they're competent or not, and do they have the systems, and do they have the people. So I want to talk with Kathy about how they...
CMC, yeah, Quality never does Reg CMC assessment. At least I never heard that part.
Sure. Well, I mean, so what I am used to seeing is some sort of qualification survey that goes out, and they work with the functional areas to make sure that the right things are on it, because it's different for every contractor, every CRO, that sort of thing. And then that comes back. And then, yes, they would, well, and I don't know if this is how this works here, by the way. And then they would ask, ultimately, from that, Reg CMC, are you comfortable with their answers to that sort of thing? And usually, that may be enough. Let me talk to Kathy. Let me better understand how that works here, how they would make assessments, and let me see if I can get a hold of her the next couple days and sit down and have that conversation, because I really do need to better understand how they validate or qualify or whatever they want to call it vendors like this. So let me find out from her. I will get back to you hopefully in the next couple of days. It is on my list, so sorry I didn't figured we talk about this on your one-on-one anyways. 2 ships passing in the night. But let me talk with her and let me just think about this and figure it out, and I'll get back to you ASAP.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
This is still happening in September, so we have time.
Yeah, and it may be slipping into October from what I'm hearing. So.
Oh, is it slipping into October?
There's a possibility that it will. I'm starting to hear that as well. So we will see.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So in that respect, we do have time there.
All right.
That's not a problem. But I just wanted to give. Please check with Kathy. That is fine. But I never thought they do anything in terms of regulatory assessment. First of all, I don't think they are qualified, and I was not aware of the regulatory assessment. Looking at all the technical aspects, what they are doing, and how they process information, and all this. This is the thing with the Rex CMC. Kind of Rex CMC job, little bit overlaps with CMC, little bit with regulatory, little bit with QA.
Yep.
So the question is, who is doing what? CMC people say, oh, we don't need Rex CMC, we can evaluate. And that kind of thing, the role-wise kind of confusion happens. Okay.
Yeah, let me dig a little more in quality, and I will get back to you. But this is a helpful conversation. Thank you.
Sure. One quick question regarding this POC change. Remember you were talking about POC change? Point of contact?
Oh, sorry. I was like, proof of concept?
With the agency. Is that official? So I know we discussed about this, and you mentioned that, okay, the CMC submission, CMC will be doing, but that was a discussion. We are doing RACI and all this. But I don't know whether it was official, and we decided who will be the POC for CMC on the submission. Has that already? I was not aware of that.
That's up to you and your team. So we are doing, as we go with the INDs, we're updating the INDs to add additional authorized people. In fact, they just added me to one, although I don't necessarily need or want to be added, but it's okay. They're adding you to the last few that I've seen as the Reg CMC person. Now, it's up to you and your organization if you want to be that person that's signing off on the Reg CMC stuff. And if there's a Reg, and I will tell you what's going to happen is if there's a Reg CMC submission, regardless of who the primary contact is, if they have questions, they're going to reach out to whoever signed off the document. So I did the one for futibatinib. They're actually going to reach out to me if they have any questions about that CBE 30, which I will defer it obviously back to you guys. But that is up to you and your organization how you want to manage that. If you want to have, you decide who are you comfortable with being that contact? Because yes, FDA will call you. FDA will email you guys.
Okay.
And these are the people that are signing off on the cover letter. So that's how FDA knows. If you want that to be you from a CMC perspective across the board, that's your decision. If you're okay with Ben, Ashil, and Aparna, and you don't have to have the same answer for all of them. It could be wherever you feel comfortable where they are. They can be added to those as well. But that's guidance the team is going to need to get from you because they're actively updating these authorized people.
So we are moving with that process for the different projects as the time for IND amendment or something comes.
Generally, yes. Yeah. So what we're doing is they're bundling it with like, hey, we're doing these other submissions. Let's add this, these other types of things, and they'll just slap that in as part of the submission.
Okay. I was not aware of that, and so there was a little bit confusion for the project 7 to 8, which is almost non-existent. We don't do much. So they are doing something, and I was not aware of. I didn't see the form, and Isel keeps telling me, okay, so we are going to submit this, and so they put my name there. I was not sure. I didn't know actually, so there was some confusion. But anyway, I will talk to Isel. I was not sure. But I understand now. I understand.
Yeah, you need to decide who that is. In fact, I just signed off on that submission. They put you down as an authorized contact for that submission. If you want to sell, you can add that. Although I just signed off on that, so it's a stability update. I think that may already be on its way. I'm not really sure. But yes.
No, that one you're talking about, that is not submitted yet.
Okay.
And I did not want that one. I mean, that's why I did not know. That's what I'm saying. And I was, when Ishal sent me, Ishal did not tell me exactly what is, or not clearly actually, only by email. I was not aware of that. But yeah, 7 to 8, I do not need to be, because that's really, nothing is going on. I mean, I don't need to be for that one, just a stability update. I mean, if something is more critical, probably I want to be. But let me check with both Ishal and Margaret and make sure that we do that. I mean, if we need to add Ishal, I mean, I don't know right now. I mean, right now, if it is signed, maybe we'll go with it or change to Ishal later. But I was not aware of the process. But anyway, that will do that. That's not a problem. One thing I want to talk to you a little bit is that 6417. Okay, so we had a
Yep.
meeting. We had a meeting yesterday with the CMC team at TOI, and we, as you suggested, we mentioned to them that we want to have a kickoff meeting for the FDA meeting.
Yep.
Okay. Sushil was there, and Sushil said, well, he was asking why you want a kickoff meeting, this and that. And then he said, well, there will be a JDC meeting and we have this event news. So maybe you want to hold off on these. We don't want to do it right now. So that's what he was saying. And then it seems like they are a little bit reluctant to have any meeting immediately. So the more they can postpone, they'll be happy. Which is a little bit strange. But so the discussion that came up, they said, okay, you can have a meeting. You don't need a separate kickoff meeting. You can have a meeting with their Cullinan meeting, which is every Thursday, sometime in 12:30 or something in the afternoon, which is a very odd time. I don't know how they selected that because none of the people are, in a different time zone. Everybody is in the same time zone, but they selected 12:30 to 2. But anyway, so they want to have, that meeting is mainly a joint CMC meeting. And that meeting, a lot of people are there. Everybody is there pretty much. Everybody is at least listed as attendees. 30, 40 people.
So which meeting is this? So JDC is next week. So it's not JDC. There's a meeting the week after that where I guess a bunch of people are coming to Princeton, theoretically. Is that the meeting you're talking about?
No.
So this is some other meeting.
That whoever is coming in Princeton, we don't know about that. But I'm talking about, we have a regular joint CMC meeting. That started from last year when we signed the contract or with partnership with Cullinan. So the Cullinan team and TOI team have a joint CMC meeting. And the purpose of that was really because Cullinan was managing the CMC and then it was transferred to TOI.
Yep.
And in the transition, a lot of things need to be discussed, and some Cullinan people were involved. And Cullinan people means mainly they are contract people. They are very few permanent people. And there was the discussion. Now, honestly speaking, that meeting, purpose of that meeting is really not there anymore because everything is transferred. Now, TOI is kind of driving the thing. Cullinan has some input. Other than that, nothing much. They are not really doing anything that CMC wise. Clinical wise, they are doing a lot of things, but not CMC wise. But that meeting is still going on. I mean, I think apparently TOI CMC likes that meeting, so they keep. But actually, they are reducing the schedule. Now, it used to be every week.
Mm-hmm.
Every week. Now it's like every other week. So they discussed all the detailed CMC issues, what happened to the API. We made a batch today. This was the result. This what happened. This kind of thing. I mean, it's detailed, but again, sometimes it is more like a presentation, so we don't have the actual data or information. So that meeting, there is a small part, okay, we have to make an IND submission, this and that. So there is a regulatory update. I mean, they are recommending that we have the kickoff meeting in right there. I mean, not a separate kickoff meeting, just discuss there the regulatory thing. Now, I looked at your email. I just want to clarify. In your email, when you said you had discussion with Jamie,
Mm-hmm.
I think you were more talking about they want to have a overall all the meetings or each meeting separately a kickoff. The language said more like a kickoff for all the FDA meetings,
It's
planning.
all the important documents that are being submitted, which means briefing books and meeting requests. It means any like significant updates like that recommended phase 2 dose submission. Frankly, probably if there was a significant CMC sort of update, anything that's big like that. They want a kickoff meeting and key messages. And it's not unreasonable. Frankly, we need that for ourselves. I don't think we should be submitting a meeting request until we actually have agreement, even internally. What are the key outcomes you hope to get out of this? What's the purpose of having this meeting? What are your timelines, right? So it's just, to be perfectly honest, this is how it's going to have to be. And Cullinan, I will deny I ever said this, but Cullinan looks for any reason it can be slighted, and then they make my life a living hell. It's as simple as that. So if you guys kick off this meeting in a CMC meeting and they don't feel, and I'm going to tell you that's not actually going to be enough, it's not going to be the right people, I am going to hear it. I get these page-long emails about how everything is wrong and it's this histrionics. It's unbelievable. So we can't do it that way because I can't deal with that. And then it goes all the way up to Tim Whitten, and then Tim Whitten gives me a call, and it is this huge debacle every time. We can't have that. So anything that, and this, like I said, it's all the big things, like not something like the DSER. We have to be able to do a couple of things. We have to give them time to review the documentation. And most of the time that's going to be 5 days. Some things that, we could give them more, and I think there may be some things we can do less, but something like a briefing book, they're going to need 5 days to review it. They need a timeline to understand when that's coming to them, and something that they agree to as well, because they're part of that process. And they're not wrong about wanting to understand what the key messages are, because what we just ran into with the recommended phase 2 dose, if we had had key messages, I think it would have been more clear how we should have been writing the document. So there was a lot of swing back and forth depending on who was reviewing it and all of that sort of thing. So we have to do this under our contract anyway. And I don't think we get out of this with meetings. So meeting requests, you can have the same kickoff for the meeting request and for the briefing book. That's totally fine. But just a CMC meeting is not going to cut it. You can do it in the CMC meeting if you have invited guests. But it's just, there's this whole other Cullinan thing that's going with it. So it just kind of has to be done.
So if I understand, so you are kind of saying that we should have a separate, just the kickoff meeting for the FDA meeting. This would be a separate one rather than within the CMC meeting.
You can do it one of two ways, either a separate meeting or it can be within the Reg CMC meeting, but you have to invite additional people to that meeting because it's not just the CMC teams.
What do you mean additional people?
Well, people outside of Reg CMC. So regulatory, Jamie from Cullinan, she's going to want to be part of this for sure. Honestly.
She comes to the CMC meeting.
Okay, so I should be part of this. Have to go back and look and see what the other groups are. Maybe that would be enough.
And also maybe Angela also, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think which program. Yeah, exactly. So it's making sure those people are invited. Then we have to see, is there anybody else? Based on the list of questions, I'm not sure that there is. Just thinking back, because I was thinking about Ben's slides. But actually, Reg Ops should be there because they need to know what so this is us, and this is not CMC running this. This is Reg CMC. You and your team, you guys are running this. Making sure Reg Ops needs to know what's happening and to be part of that, just to make sure that, they're not going to disagree with any timelines, but so that they know what they are. Who else traditionally goes to these sorts of kickoff meetings? I don't know. But that's what needs to be defined.
Yes. So I think all the parties who have stake in it, and as you said, all the regulatory strategy, Reg Ops, in the CMC meeting, if we do discuss anything related to bioequivalence and all these, maybe clean farm, and then TOY CMC. Now, one thing I know they are trying to fold it into their joint CMC meeting. I prefer to have a separate meeting. Only the reason being, we have to include TPC. TPC has showing tremendous amount of interest, and they're kind of bugging us almost. When we were in Japan, they were asking, what is your plan for the FDA meeting? And they sent another email just yesterday, and so they want to know what is our plan for the meeting. I think they want to be very much part of it. And because I told you before, they are kind of taking the manufacturing control. They're going to do the validation. It's their responsibility, not TOI CMC.
Yeah.
So they want to know what is going on and all this. So we have to include them, and to include them at 12:30 is not going to be possible. So we have to have a separate meeting just for that reason alone.
Okay.
And because it is so sensitive, what I want to do, I already told Ben that first we'll for the kickoff meeting, what is the plan, timeline? We want to have a plan and first run by ourselves. So maybe talk to you, myself, Ben, if you want, maybe Angela. So we want to agree ourselves before roll out the kickoff meeting and how and where and who should be included. Who should be included is pretty easy, but I think the main point is TPC has to be included, and so that's why we do not. And Cullinan wise, I think this is another thing. In the CMC meeting, honestly, I would say it's like everybody's brother is there. Okay?
Oh yeah, we only want people that are really going to contribute.
That meeting is it's sometimes it's very, and the problem that happens is because there's so many people, there can be comments from multiple sides, and it is difficult to manage if you have so many people. If you don't have focused number of people, so we have to decide who from the Cullinan side should be there. Do you think? I'm thinking maybe I should talk to Sushil to let him know, because Sushil is leaning towards, first of all, not having the meeting or not having the kickoff meeting immediately. Wait for the JDC and all this. Anyway, we are planning to have the kickoff meeting if we do earlier. No, not earlier than maybe end of this month, okay? Because the meeting is right now in December, scheduled in December. We are not going to send the meeting request until October because we'll have the information, let's say, by September. So we digest the information, finalize on the questions, have the draft, and so probably October we're going to send the meeting request for the meeting in December. But again, Sushil is kind of pushing to maybe make it January or February. That's what he was trying to say.
So let me ask this question. And, I sit at JDC. Is there anything that's going to come out of JDC that is going to change our thinking about the need for the CMC meeting and the scope of the CMC meeting?
I think the only thing that Sushil was mentioning is that it may change not the scope and the need. I think it may change the timing.
Well, so let me ask that question. So we are not talking at JDC about the elephant in the room, which I have said, I don't even know why we're having this JDC. The elephant in the room is the amivantamab data and what that means for our program. That discussion isn't going to happen until the week after the JDC meeting.
Okay.
So that's not coming out of the JDC meeting. So, okay, and I agree. And what I had said, frankly, to Jack was what? Jamie had wanted all this stuff about our regulatory meeting plans and have that updated. And I agree, we actually do have to update it, but I was like, there's no point in updating it until we know what our plan is for the program. Like, it's just, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So we are having the wrong discussions at JDC completely. I still contend that. So the team is going to work on that, whatever that week is, the week after next week. So it won't be until then that we figure it out. But these are the possible outcomes that could come from here, in my opinion, or it's what's going to get approved regardless of what the team says. If we want to continue with an accelerated approval plan, it's going to have to be from cohort C, which is the post-amivantamab patient population. That's just the reality of it. We could consider keeping with our plan and going with cohort B, but you're going to have add an arm to control that, which you shouldn't be doing midstream, but under the circumstances, I'm sure we can work that out with FDA. That would be an option. It's not one that Fabio, frankly, really feels. I will tell you, Fabio's feeling is either go post-AMI or just don't even completely scrap it. Don't even bother with it, right? So that's the only thing that I could see that changes the need for this meeting to be now, is if we completely scrap an accelerated approval plan of any kind. I don't think, but I'm going to tell you right now, no way Cullinan supports that. They don't make the ultimate decision though, right? If this goes to JDC and JSC, ultimately it goes to Tim Witten. So at the end of the day, we will get whatever we decide we want to do, but it will be painful getting there. But that's like the only thing that I think maybe changes the timing of a CMC perspective. So let's say we do that, right? Let's say we completely wipe out, no accelerated approval. Our first approval, we're going to plan to be our frontline study in combination with chemo. My question to you then is, well, if that's going to be our lead indication, what would you recommend for respect to timing of a CMC meeting? It's a phase 1-3 study. So as soon as we get through the first 6 to 12 patients, the phase 3 starts. So does that change your thinking about should we wait a little bit and push it off?
I do not want to push it off. I want the meeting earlier than later. And there are multiple reasons. Our reasons sometimes not in alignment with POI-CMC, unfortunately. But the reason being, first of all, we never had any meetings.
Correct.
For CMC meeting. Although they're saying they submitted a lot of CMC documents in one of the 2021 or something. But we know, as long as there is no big safety risk, FDA does not waste time going through the full IND and reading it carefully.
Not from a CMC perspective, no, they do not.
From a CMC perspective. Only when we ask for a meeting, they really focus on it. Okay, so they are serious, let's check this, and they focus on it. And many times what happens, they do ask some questions, specific question in terms of CMC development, and that we did not have that before. So my guess is a meeting will be very helpful in finding out what are the things we need to do and where we are. If the CMC team, and I told them yesterday, if the CMC team feels very confident, I understand, but still, if you think there is no risk and we can delay the meeting, there is nothing critical and all this, even then, there will be a lot of different questions. And the earlier you know the questions, considering this the timeline, and considering that March 2025 is our submission target, the earlier we know is better. You do not want to know these things during the review. The more things you postpone to the review, you have short time to respond to this, and some of the studies you cannot do it. Let's say we are one of the things that FDA typically asks questions, polymorphism, okay, or dissolution, okay. If we don't run by them, even if we are confident, they will ask some questions, and at that point, you have 15 days to respond. You will not be able to do the study to respond to the questions, okay? And this project is so sensitive. If we have got any delay, that will be definitely will have impact. So and we have a breakthrough designation. We can have as many meetings as we want. And usually, my previous experience with breakthrough designation, FDA is really helpful. FDA wants to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose of the breakthrough. So I think we should have the meeting earlier than later. Whatever we have, let's have the meeting. Let's start the dialogue, and we can have another meeting sometime in April or something. So, I mean, I am preaching for earlier meeting for a long time, but they are worried, and their worry is that we don't have enough information, or I think what they are not saying is sometimes their information is not completely adequate, or there are gaps in there. They're still trying to resolve the impurity thing.
But then they need to. But then they need to say that. This is we need to be fully transparent. If that's their concern, they should tell you and Ben, look, this is our concern.
And they're saying they have no concern. That is the problem. You see, they are trying to, and I'm honest with you, Christine, they're trying to just put it under the rug, and their thinking is, if we tell something, then FDA will find more fault. And then our response was, we told them, do you want the fault to be found now or in the middle of the review?
Yeah, it's not going to change it.
I mean, it will come. Do you think that just because you don't tell them, FDA will not ask you? It's a really different mindset, and somehow I don't think even Sushil is not understanding. And this is mainly probably a little bit more focused on the drug substance, a little bit also drug product, but mainly on the drug substance, where there is still it's evolving. But no, we want to have the meeting earlier than later, and I think the CMC team is preparing for that. I mean, they are preparing, but at least based on yesterday's meeting, because of this amivantamab thing, they are thinking that maybe it won't be so early. Maybe we some pressure will be gone. I mean, they're looking for a little bit pressure off, I think. But that's the kind of situation.
But that's a reasonable thing too. If I mean, honest to God, if some other team member came to me and said, look, we are under so much pressure right now because of X, Y, and Z, can we stagger our activities? That's also a perfectly legitimate question to ask. Just be honest about it. So that's the thing. I would say we're still looking at best case scenario, that approval in 25. I think probably it's going to be pushed out, to be fair. And I think that's probably what Sushil is thinking about. I think because if we have to move over to cohort C, they have 16 patients in right now, but most of them went in like May and June, so we don't even have 2 follow-ups yet to know if we're seeing anything, right? So I suspect he's thinking that 25 is not likely to be approval. It may more look like 26. So what's the rush? But if there's a reason that they need some more time, then let's talk about it. Because yeah, I mean, realistically, does it matter if we get advice in December versus January versus February? Probably not, practically speaking. But are we going to get, better attention from them, better written documents? Because what's coming out of there is not well written right now. If I'm going to be honest, not well written at all. That's a problem. They need to be able to, they also need to be able to spend the time that it takes to do this well. So you also want to make sure you're giving them the time to do that. So I think these are the questions to have, not just like, well, maybe we don't need to go, or maybe we do. It's like, look, this is what we can do and why. Let's have an open conversation about it. Because let's be honest, if really you went in February and got the advice from FDA in February, would that be a huge problem for the program?
If it is 25, it could be a little bit problem. If 25 is our 25 first quarter is our target, that could be it will be a little bit tight to recover, because there will be several things to do, and some of this takes time, and then we have to keep writing for the prepare the dossier for the NDA, and then all the activities, and we have the pre-NDA meeting and all these. They have to manage the stability. They're already struggling to do the stability on time, because that's really the rate limiting, and all these studies. And they are doing, they're doing the studies in multiple places, and that's also another, maybe side risk, doing in multiple places to manage them and make sure the one is aligned with the other, using the same method, same things, those kind of things.
But you and Ben need to sit down with Sushil and maybe Murad, probably not the whole the whole CMC team, and these are the conversations you guys need to have.
Yeah, some of those we are having, but I'm just telling you still we are a little bit separated in terms of the alignment, in terms of what is their mindset, what we are trying to push. And we are trying to push because you want to know sooner than later. And so what may come to, they are trying to push, my preference, I'm just telling you, is to have the meeting in December, no later than that. Whatever questions we have. If we have only one question on the starting material, that's fine. We have some other questions. Dissolution won't be ready. So dissolution we cannot ask in, let's say, December. We should have the meeting, at least start the discussion. And then if we need maybe another meeting when they're ready with everything else, maybe another meeting in March or April. Okay? Before, the pre-NDA is April or little bit later maybe. But pre-NDA is supposed to be in September or something, right? So before that, we should have definitely another meeting so that we completely prepare. In that meeting, we should have all the questions we want to ask. The problem, I think the problem is their mindset is we don't want to ask any questions. For a long time, we don't want to ask any question. We know what we are doing, and they say that's it. If we ask questions, FDA will find more hole, and that's the problem for us. Why do you want to hear that? They don't want to hear. They don't want to hear the bad news. And again, this is a totally different mindset. Our approach is it's not a bad news. We have a breakthrough indication. FDA wants the product to be successful. They don't want for CMC reason a good product goes away. And they will help us, but at the same time, you have to meet the standard. And as we more we know about that earlier, that's better for us rather than later.
Yeah, the standards are the same from a CMC perspective, whether you're breakthrough or not. The standards are the same. The timing of things and whether you can do things as follow-ups, that's where we have some flexibility. But the standards are what they are.
Exactly. For Pudivani, they were very strict on CMC. They didn't let anything go. So that you are absolutely right. The standards are same. They may give a little bit more flexibility when you can submit or how you can do it later, those kind of things. So anyway, the discussion is continuing, but I will have a discussion with Sushil in terms of the actual kickoff meeting. I will tell that maybe we do it separately and with the TPC. And
and it doesn't need to have that huge group of CMC people. It's really the key folks. Right? I don't know how many are from Cullinan. We don't need 20 CMC people from Cullinan or whatever. I'm just making up a number.
Yeah, Cullinan has quite a few people because they have different people doing different things, and I think all of them or most of them are contractor. The only permanent people I think is Kevin. Kevin is kind of the head of operation or CMC operation, something like that. But everybody else is contractor.
So what we've agreed to with Cullinan is we are going to do the first draft of documents here. Then we're going to hand over our second draft to them, and they're going to have 5 days, give or take a little bit, but 5 days to review second drafts of documents. And then they're going to do that. And it's their responsibility. That is their opportunity for their senior management. It's the only pass they're getting at these documents is that one time. And then they come back to us, and then we adjudicate their comments. And if and it's up to us to decide what to do with them. We can take the ones we like. We can reject other ones. If we still have further questions, great, let's set up a roundtable with them and have a conversation about them. But ultimately, it's our decision how to adjudicate those and how to move things forward. So that is how we're going to work. So you don't need to have 6 CMC folks from Cullinan at a kickoff meeting. All 6 may review the document. That absolutely may be true, but do you need all 6 of them there, right? Because we're not getting back from them individual comments. They have to collate them themselves. We want one document with all the comments in it. So these are the things that need to be established at the kickoff meeting.
Okay, so you're saying the first draft we send to them, something like that, or
Not
after we have, huh?
second draft goes to them. First draft, we vet it through here internally, and it's going to take a while. It goes through our leadership as well. So we've had a very, very high level people take a look at this and weigh in.
No, that's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah, that is good. Yeah, I'm on the same page.
Yeah, and please do, when you're prepping for this kickoff meeting, please do let me come help you guys, because this isn't necessarily written down anywhere. These are agreements we've had with Cullinan just based on things that haven't gone so well. So let me help you not get the page-long emails about just... I can't even tell you. It's to the point where Tim's like, wow, they're really melodramatic, huh? And I'm like, oh, yeah. So let me avoid that for you. Let me help you, because it's awful. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I understand completely. So that is that. I have one quick...
Yep.
So I talked to Ishel about this,
The AI thing? Yep.
Huh?
Yeah, the AI.
I talked to that. So the AI one, she provided, that one did not, that is completely, I think it's more engineering or...
Yeah.
It's completely unrelated. It's not related to either reg or reg CMC, nothing. So I said that one would be better. I found another course, actually. This is offered by FDA. FDA has a workshop in September. That one focuses on reg CMC only.
Oh.
Effect of AI on reg CMC on manufacturing.
I missed that.
That one is FDA and PQRI workshop. PQRI is part of, I think, FDA or something. But anyway, so that was a good one in September. So I get that also. And she was a little bit vacillating. I want AI. She did not like the FDA one. It's totally focused on CMC. So I said, okay, so do you want more reg strategy or that kind of thing, overall reg strategy? But in that case, you really need to have the background in reg strategy, right? So there's reg strategy. There is a workshop or I don't know. It's a training thing by RAPS. So that one she liked. So she's probably leaning towards having that reg strategy, learning more, which I am okay with. I don't have any issue with that. I think that will be a good learning for that her. My main concern is not concern. I think she does need more reg CMC knowledge.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the reg CMC knowledge.
Okay.
She doesn't have the background really to make a judgment. Okay, in this case, what should we do? That kind of things. I think she is a little bit confused, and I'm not sure she is aware of that or she is trying to correct that. But that's definitely she needs. So I'm going to still recommend her to improve the reg CMC. But because she wants to have the reg strategy, which is fine, having the broader background, and she mentioned that before. So that was the kind of the discussion. So that's what we are going to.
Yeah. So at an associate director level, I actually wouldn't expect somebody to necessarily have that savvy that you're talking about yet, because that's really about risk management. I expect associate directors to be really good at identifying risk, but maybe not so good about understanding how do you mitigate it. What are your options? And I feel like, and this is true, reg strategy too, sort of at that level, they're sort of on the precipice and need to build those exact skills. So what I would suggest is, by all means, I think you should keep coaching her with that. If there is some kind of training, if they're, let's say, is Ben really good at that? Is that something she can just sort of sit with Ben or watch Ben with, say, 6417, if Ben is really savvy about that, and have him share his thinking or something like that, to sort of hone those skills. Because the reality is, no matter what she does, whether she stays in Reg CMC forever or does anything else in industry, it's all about risk management and about being able to have the savvy to understand what are our options and what do I recommend and why. From an IDP perspective, she did. I had a conversation. I'm sort of just chatting with everybody just to kind of get a sense of where they are with stuff. She did say she's really interested in learning the reg strategy stuff. I think that's great from an IDP perspective. So let's start her on that RAPS thing. I told her too. I said, I was very honest with her. I said, normally what I would do is I would pair you up with somebody internally from reg strategy, so you could shadow them a little bit and sort of see how they're doing stuff. I said, but the reality is, here in this company, Angela's the only full-blown, fully functioning regulatory strategist beside myself. So that is a bit of a problem, is I don't necessarily have somebody who has bandwidth to pair you up with right now. I said, so we're going to have to sort of look at this as we're going through the RDPs about figuring out how we can teach her some of this stuff as we're going through that process. So I think we can manage it that way. But I think that RAPS thing sounds great. I sent you the AI at MIT, which is more, it's more looking at it from a drug development perspective, and it does look, she's not going to be ready to take that yet. But if that's what she's interested in, let's put the steps in place to make her be able to go to a meeting or a class like that and really get something out of it.
No, I understand that. No, after she gets the next strategy, then she'll be ready for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and ultimately too, Partha, I think I didn't have this conversation with her, but I think it's worth asking her, what does she want to do in 5 years? Does she really want to be a reg strategist? I think I've mentioned this to you. I've only known a few people make that transition from reg CMC to reg strategy, but boy, are they good when they get there, because they really do have a well-balanced understanding of multiple aspects of drug development. So if that's something that long-term she's interested in doing, we certainly can support that. But it requires going through this stepwise sort of thing.
Right. I think that's the main thing. You need to go through the stepwise thing.
Yep.
And then some of the things like in terms of judgment and how to use that comes from experience. That's really actual doing things. So not from any particular course, but having the reg strategy background or impact of AI on that. I mean, it's my personal opinion. I think this is not yet the right time for AI background. The reason is right now AI is a little bit more hype than substance.
For the most part, yes.
Maybe in few years it will be more mature where the impact of that and how to use that will be much more standardized. I mean, a lot of people are now offering AI courses because of it. It is now much more hyped. But again, it's no harm there as such. But how useful it will be, I think it will be more useful in a few years rather than immediately.
Yeah.
But again, that's not a problem.
Okay, I think that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. With just quickly, how much time we have? Yeah.
You have whatever time you need. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, just want to be within time. With the Ben, I think I'm just also planning to have a little bit more meeting with Ben. I mean, Ben is okay with doing all the submission and everything and manage that and all these. But I probably need more interaction. I'm not sure the communication-wise, Ben is always communicating or all these things. He's a little bit reserved. A little bit laid back.
Yep.
When you push things, she's not very comfortable. And sometimes you need to do things quickly, and so I'm not sure. He always, I'm saying he always communicates a little bit late, or sometimes does not communicate very well. So I think that kind of thing I have to probably have more meetings with. So I'm going to have. Try to have a little bit more meetings than I have. I have weekly meetings set up for everybody, but I probably need more in terms of the strategy and all these things. So that's the only thing. I think otherwise Ben has much better sense or judgment, definitely compared to either Ishal or Aparna. But I think that a little bit slower and a little bit communication-wise, those things if Ben can improve, that will be very, very good. Ben can be and Ben is very level-headed.
Yes.
And that way he manages it very well. I mean, he has a little bit difficulty with this Murad. I mean, Murad is definitely difficult.
Everybody has difficulty with Murad, so he is not alone.
Yeah, and Murad is very strong, and he will say some opinion on your face that you are wrong, and so that creates a little bit. Ben gets a little bit, sometimes Ben, and then somehow Sushil is sometime in the meeting, and if Sushil is there, he's in definitely a higher position, so Ben is not able to as much, assertive, and this project is a little bit difficult. But but let's see. I mean, I'm trying to support as much, but I think I need to have more interaction with Ben. That's what I'm going to do.
All right. Yeah, the other thing to think
maybe.
about too, it's challenging to lead as an introvert. It just is. But I've seen it done successfully. So they still can learn a skill set that are different than maybe the skill sets that like an extrovert would use. So I don't know if we have any supportive training around that. I mean, for me, honest to God, when people come at me that are more senior than me, and believe me, I've had some really aggressive people come at me. It is really hard. And there may be some I don't know what we have in NAC. There may be some classes as far as supporting how to manage how to manage difficult people. I really have come at this. This is why I ask a lot of questions. Maybe I'm missing something. Help me understand what it is that I'm missing. And maybe that's a strategy that would work for him. I don't really know, but there may be some classes that would help him with the strategy of how to deal with more senior aggressive people. Because we do have to figure that out in regulatory. But there are different strategies for dealing with it.
Yeah, no. I'll see. I mean, we have something, some trainings in our system, right?
We do, and I don't know if there's anything like that. And if not, this could be a really good thing because there are all sorts of like leadership training programs that are not scientific specific, but it's about how to learn to lead differently, better, that kind of thing. Yeah, formal training might be helpful for him. Something to think about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'll talk to him about that. Some kind of training.
Yeah, but sitting with him too could be really helpful. But he is, and unfortunately, there's somebody that's always difficult to deal with. He's going to have to figure out a way to manage that. But maybe he just needs some different tools in his toolbox to help him get through.
Is it? I mean, you just mentioned that maybe Shell can work with Ben to learn some of the.
Oh, those two would be a great pairing.
I'm sorry?
Those two would be a great pairing. Michelle's not afraid of anyone.
That's what I was thinking. She's really aggressive, and Ben is, I mean, I just don't want Ben to think otherwise because Michelle included a little bit in 6417 or ask Ben to. Is that going to? Let's think about that. I don't want to make anything right now, but I think that may be beneficial for both.
It's something to think about. Or even if it's that you have Ben mentor Ishel, maybe he'll learn some of it through like diffusion, like watching her, that like, oh, that really worked well. Maybe he'll intuitively sort of figure out if some of her strategies could work for him. I don't know, maybe not, but that way it would give him a mentoring opportunity as well.
Yeah, that is true. And actually, a little bit for 3351, because 3351 Ben was handling before, then Ishel was handling, and now actually it's going to Aparna. Ben did a little bit mentoring to Ishel in terms of, going on to the 3351 and help her a little bit. And that was helpful because Ishel needs sometimes Ishel needs, at least in the beginning also, needed some hands-on kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
And Ben helped with that because I was not always able to. So.
By the way, I forgot to mention, I had a conversation with Ishel about the award for 3351, and I apologized to her profusely. And it was very funny because she was just like, oh, I barely did anything. I didn't expect to be part of that. I was just like, okay, well, that way, I mean, she literally couldn't have cared less. Although I did, just so you know, we had a long conversation and I did apologize to her for that. So wasn't at all fazed by it.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else here. I mean, 6417, I told you. There's nothing else. Food event, a lot of clinical studies are ongoing. I mean, we have a China.
China, yeah.
China one is a little bit difficult. They're asking so much information.
That's
TPC
what they do.
And TPC also said they they want to change to the commercial product for the clinical study, take the samples, take the commercial product to use in the clinical study. So if they do that, I don't know the exact timing. That's what I told you to check. But depending on the timing, we have to include that in the submission. That is a little bit tricky. What else is there? I think that those are the main things. Now, using the commercial product, I do not recommend. PC already kind of decided. I don't know why, but they probably want to do that way.
There are risks to it, which you and I have talked about, and
Yeah.
this is probably one of those things that it's our job to outline what those risks could be, and then eyes wide open. I hope nothing will happen, and probably nothing will happen, but
Probably not, yeah.
but
Probably not.
there is a
But,
risk that something could happen.
Yeah, and I think maybe we can try to understand. They didn't discuss with us, so we didn't have a discussion. We just came to know. But try to understand why they are doing it. They have to balance the risk,
Yeah, and is there some again, it's one of those things. Is there something we don't know? Help me understand. Is there a reason that why in China it's recommended, required, whatever, to use commercial product? Help me understand that.
Yeah, and what is the benefit? Then maybe they can see it clearly, the benefit and the risk, the balance of that. Benefit may be very minor. Maybe somebody in manufacturing decided, okay, we cannot do it here. Maybe we'll save $1,000 if we make it in. If we use the commercial product. Sometimes manufacturing people, they look at all the small benefits they have. I have seen that.
Yep.
They don't want to do one test because of some reason, because the test costs like $300. They can save the test. But when we looked at the whole thing, saving that test and the risk of that is much more than saving the $200 test. So sometimes they think that way. I don't have anything else right now.
Okay. Well,
overall, everything is going on. I think 6417 is probably the main thing.
Yeah.
And let me know the ADC trip. ADC
Yep.
trip, I feel that probably that will be helpful, but let me know.
Let me. I'm not even going to put a meeting on the calendar with Kathy. I'm going to send her an email and tell her to tell me a time that's good for her. That usually works out better when I need to get her attention. So I will do that right now so I don't forget. And just give me a few days. Hopefully I can really get a better sense of what are they doing there and how are they getting the information they need to qualify this vendor. So let me find that out, and then I will get back to you.
Okay.
Perfect.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Have a good Friday.
Oh, you too. And if you can kick off early, go ahead and do it. I wasn't kidding at that leadership at our leadership meeting. It's like, at some point we all work these ridiculous hours. Like if you can take a few hours here, especially we're up at 6 a.m. I was in meetings at 7 myself. Like just do it.
No, 6 a.m. was yesterday. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Last night I did not take any risk. I took some medicine to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
I took a risk,
But give yourself a break. Give your body a break. If there's nothing on fire this afternoon,
No, nothing on fire.
then give yourself an extra hour or two if that's helpful to you or whatever.
Sure.
You know what's important.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Bye then.
Have a great weekend.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.